So glad you were with us on Elevate Your Wealth. Brad Johansson with the boys, Mark Stimpson, Casey Elkins, Elevated Financial Management. Good to be back with you guys.
That's always great to see you, man. We're excited to be here.
It's fun.
It's wonderful.
It is good stuff. Why are you silent?
I'm just thinking,
It's hiding something from you.
It's just I just love doing this show with you guys. I want to thank our viewers right now, because you are what makes all of this possible, right? And you help drive our business back home in Seattle, and we love to be able to talk about subjects that are going to make a difference in people's lives. And so we just enjoy being here, doing this, helping to educate seniors and pre-seniors, make decisions that is going to lead to success. We want everyone to have a successful retirement, but it does, it requires some talking. It requires some planning. It just doesn't, like we talk about, it doesn't just happen in a silo. There's a lot of things that need to be talked about.
And it really does come back to education, like you said, right? I mean, that's why we do the show every week, right? That's why we teach retirement classes at the local colleges. That's why we do the radio show. That's why we've written the book, Break the Glass. It's all about the education so that people are informed and feel empowered to make that decision, to have the conversation, and to figure out what they need to do to make it happen.
You know what? We very rarely talk about this. I sit this on the set all the time, so I'm glad you actually said that. Let's talk a little bit about the book and whether or not people are allowed to have the book. Are you sending out the book? Yep. Tell me about the writing a book sometimes isn't all that. Was this fun to put this book together?
You know what? It really felt like work at first, to tell you the truth.
It did.
It really did, but it became fun in time. Because you know what? It was an exciting idea because it's something that what we find is there's a lot of books out there about finance. There's a lot of books about retirement. We've read a number of them, and really to us, they all feel like they're written for other advisors. They feel like they're written with language that the average retiree doesn't use or doesn't understand, and a lot of industry jargon and things like that, and really getting too deep into the weeds of actual financial planning. And so we really specifically tried to pull back from that and say, how can we make this almost a shortened version of the retirement class that we teach, the things we talk about on the show, the things we talk about on the radio show, really the things we talk about each and every day in the office. And that's how Break the Glass was born. And you know what, just to touch on the title of the book, because I think that this is so important. Break the Glass, we realize that when it comes to retirement planning, for many people it feels like there's a fire. It feels frantic. It feels like suddenly there are all these decisions that have to be made. And the truth of it is you have got to start somewhere. And so the point is, break the glass, make the decision to start putting that plan together. If you'd like a copy of the book, we'd love to send it to you. You see the website there, breaktheglassbook.com. It'll come in a golden envelope, just like a Willy Wonka ticket to retirement. So we're happy to share it with you. Please take advantage of it. It's more of what we talk about on the show. It's just like the classes that we teach. And appreciate you bringing that out, Brad, because it's a really valuable tool.
You can scan the QR code that's on your screen, too. So if you want to go to the website, you can scan the QR code while it's here. This book is yours. They will send it out to you. And for those of you who come in for an appointment as well, we'll get that book to you. And that's the goal of this. To empower you enough to say, you know what, I've been listening for a while, been watching for a while, I want to do something about it. You don't know what you don't know, which is why we do this program all the time. Here may be a few more things today that you don't know. I want to talk about spousal benefits and some Social Security decisions that are made. You mentioned it earlier, and we do this in the show, that a lot of the times you as couples will make decisions in silos. Or you're waiting till that point of Social Security, and then you call the Social Security department and say, what should I do? I can't tell you. You need experts to be able to do this, or you've listened to the noise on social media, or somebody at work, or somebody down the street, or somebody at a family dinner who says, this is the way you're supposed to do Social Security, and nobody's ever investigated it. So I want to get into the spousal benefits, why this is so significant. 1 out of 4 of you in America and maybe you haven't made the decision yet, but so let me warn you, 1 out of 4 households in America are depending on Social Security as their entire income for the rest of their lives. How's that working for you? 40% are using it as half. Is there a percentage, guys, that I should be looking at that's, this wasn't built to do that. No. This was a supplement, and yet in our mind, Social Security was my retirement. What's wrong with that? What are the numbers that are real as we get into this discussion?
Yeah, this is something that we're passionate about because it probably causes more confusion in the planning world than pretty much any other subject. And we are nationally certified Social Security advisors in our office. The sad reality Brad just mentioned, you can sometimes call Social Security and we can't tell you how many individuals have been given advice that was dead wrong as to the way it truly is. So you need to be talking to someone that specializes in this type of planning. Because Brad mentioned this, if you're listening, these decisions that you make, whether it's 62 or depending on the year you were born, it could be 66 or 67, or you wait till the last possible moment, that's age 70, you'll have the highest benefit. It's not simply a math problem. There's so much that goes into this type of planning. You need to be planning this really as a family, because one of the things that I think, I hear this all the time when it comes to spousal benefits, let's say the husband waits till age 70. I can't tell you how many clients came in and said, well, my husband waited till age 70, so I'm going to get half of his 70 benefit. No, you're not. You will, even if he waited, you're only going to get half of his full retirement age number. I call it FRA, but your full retirement age. So let's say he was born, like I was born in 1957, my full retirement age is 66 and 6 months. So my spouse, number one, before you can draw a spousal benefit, the other spouse has to be drawing. That's number one rule. Then, if let's say I waited till 66 and 6 months to draw, my wife can draw. She would get half of that number, even if I waited till 70, right? But if she draws early, let's say at 62, she'll get half of my number, but it's going to be reduced by close to 30%. So, and that's totally different than a survivor benefit. That's where waiting till 70 can really pay off for the surviving spouse, because my wife would get what's known as a spousal boost. You would get raised up to what my 70 number was. If I had waited, you do get the 70 number, but it's still a widow's penalty, right? Because there is a Social Security that does go away because at that first death, even though she might get bumped up to what I was getting, hers you could look at is going away. She is getting what my amount was, but hers goes away. So these decisions on when to claim, how to claim can be dramatic and so important, and we just don't believe it gets enough attention. It's one of the first things that we talk about. Brad, you mentioned it. What about if that's your only benefit? Is Social Security. Social Security, when it was designed and put into law in 1935, FDR was president, it was only realistically to be designed to be 40% of a person's needs at retirement. Not only that, but you know, the age that you could draw, the earliest age back then was actually 65, right? Now, you know, the average, you know what the average life expectancy was in the early 30s?
It was like, I do know, 61.7 years old.
Yeah, not quite 62. So think about that. They designed it and thought most people were never going to collect. They were going to be dead. Well, how'd that work out for the government? And it is such an important tool of that three-legged stool that we like to talk about. But you mentioned it. For some people, it's 100% of their income source. Now, if you make a bad decision there, that can be devastating as far as lifetime income, spousal benefit, survivor. So these all need to be made as a family, not just as a single decision for that individual purpose.
And then this is just a little piece of the plan.
That's right. Only a part of it.
So if you need a plan, look, we've got a lot more to talk about this. Goodness gracious, you spit out a few numbers. Mark gave us a few. The math has to work, but there's so much more that goes along with it that has to work. So we need to talk a little bit more about this. In that time, if you are in that stage of trying to figure this out, understanding it, 844-342-7142 to try and figure out how we put together a complimentary written financial plan for you. It's very easy because you just make the first step. You can scan the QR code if you'd like an appointment. You set that up yourself. Or you can make the phone call to 844-342-7142. And I say this all the time. Maybe it's just a 15-minute phone call. Can I explore? Yeah, absolutely you can explore. Want the book? Yeah, we can actually get you the book. But the idea is we're planning for the next 30 years. And if this is a piece of the puzzle that you haven't thought about, can we help you put it together? We'll do that when we come back.
Call 844-342-7142 to receive your complimentary written financial plan and Social Security optimization report. Get the most from Social Security payments. Find a strategy that maximizes your Social Security benefit and preserves the assets you've saved for retirement. Social Security seems easy, right? The question is, should you take it now or later? There are numerous ways to take Social Security. The decisions you make can also affect how much you pay in taxes. You've paid into Social Security for decades. Now you want to make sure you optimize your retirement income. Call Mark Casey and their team at 844-342-7142 for your complimentary written financial plan and Social Security maximization report. You need a retirement income plan that accounts for all your assets. Call Casey, Mark, and their team right now at 844-342-7142 to receive your complimentary written financial plan and Social Security maximization report. Or use the QR code on the screen to schedule your appointment today.
We know the market is going to get worse from here. This is the biggest monthly decline in 10 years. People's 401ks took.
Well, my investments are tanking. My retirement isn't going as planned. I can't believe I let my kid talk me into buying crypto. I mean, what is that anyway?
This was the fourth worst contraction in history.
So how are you two doing?
Your financial future doesn't have to be uncertain. Call now for your own complimentary portfolio review and written financial plan.
Glad you're with us on Elevate Your Wealth. Brad Johansson along with Mark Stimpson, Casey Elkins, and it is Elevated Financial Management that is trying to get you educated a little bit on some of this stuff that's so hard to figure out. I said in the beginning, Mark spit out a bunch of numbers because there are a lot of numbers to try and figure out throughout all of this. And if you don't do the plan, it becomes even more confusing. You're just trying to listen to somebody who doesn't know what your situation is. When should advisors bring up the Social Security plan, Casey?
You know, I think earlier than most of them actually do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people wait to have that conversation, not just the advisor, but actually the client themselves, because, if you're in your 50s, it can feel like it's quite a ways away. It's 10, 15 years away for me to have to make that decision. While that may be true, it is still part of the plan, and it's something that we want to be considering. How does that factor in? How does it play in for the other income sources that we have and how we structure our other investments? And not only that, not only do we bring it up front to have the conversation, it's something that has to be revisited. That when we finally do get to that mile marker of 62, now we can claim Social Security. Life in reality has probably changed in the last 10 years from when we made that initial decision of maybe planning to wait. So when we get to 62, yes, we can start it. Does that mean that we should? When are we going to retire? The problem is if we take it at 62, we're going to realize a significant reduction in our benefit, and that lasts forever. So most of the time, we don't like people to take it at 62, but there are extenuating circumstances. It isn't a one-size-fits-all. We have to make that decision one at a time based on the choices that we have in front of us. And so some people do take it at 62.
Let me play devil's advocate because these people are out there. What are you kidding me? Wait till past 62? This thing's going away. They already told me it's going to be insolvent by 2033. It might be insolvent even before then. So if I turn 62, I put my money in. I'm going to make sure I turn mine on now. I don't care what the number is. I'm going to get it while I can get it because it's going away.
Yeah, see, and that, we talk on a lot of our shows about the noise, right? Or the water cooler talk, the family talk. That is out there. That the trust fund is going to, be emptied out here in maybe 8-9 years. But what I know, and I believe, Casey and I have to have this conversation for over a decade now, easily. It's not going away. I don't believe that for 30 seconds.
Why?
Because it would be political suicide for anybody that wants to try and get rid of it. But what people don't realize, that even if the fund was exhausted 100%, our paycheck, if you're getting Social Security, which I am, doesn't come from the trust fund. It comes from taxation on people's payroll tax, right? The FICA tax, FICA, right? And so again,
FICA.
This is something that people don't realize. So even if it's completely exhausted, we might have to see a reduction of 20 to 25%. Now, there are going to be changes that are going to be needed. I do believe that.
There has to be.
So you can't get around that, right? They got to do something. But to think that it's going away, and I just believe emotion takes over because they're so worried about, like you mentioned, I put the money in, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get it out now. I don't believe that for 30 seconds, and I don't plan that for our clients. I don't believe that. You have to have a plan. It's going to be there. Now, if it does get reduced, do I have a way to replace that? That's really the question, right? If that happens, this is why our plans are fluid. They're not set in stone. We know changes are going to come up, and we want our clients to have flexibility if something unexpected happens. But as far as that goes, I plan more for clients waiting till full retirement age than anything else, and I think that's a reality that doesn't get talked about. There's just too much scare tactic going on right now in that world, and people are making decisions, as you mentioned, Brett, based on emotion, and I don't believe it's being based on reality. And so this is something we got to be careful about.
Yeah, and you know what? Social Security was never meant to be the way that it is now. We've all gotten used to this trust fund that is huge, right? And it pays claims, and that's great, but it was never meant to be that. It was supposed to be money in, money out. So current workers support current retirees. And of course, there has to be a buffer of some kind of trust fund to do that. But that trust fund has become huge. And now we're seeing it decline. But the narrative isn't out there that was never the actual intent. And so that's really used, as Mark said, as a scare tactic. And that's a frustrating thing from our perspective. But the reality is what can you do about it? Now, if you start Social Security at age 62 while you're still working, that's a big mistake because you're going to deal with the earned income test. And that's something that almost never gets talked about. So
you mean I'm going to make more than $24,300 a year?
Most people, especially living in Seattle, right? I mean, it's an expensive area to live. So if you make more than that $24,000 a year at your employment, for every $2 of Social Security that you get, you have to pay $1 back. And so in reality, for most people that do that live in Seattle at least, they're not actually going to see any of their Social Security check if they started at 62 while they're still working. Now, if you're not working, it's a little different, but again, it's a reduction, and it can be up to 30% reduction that you receive on your Social Security benefits forever. So we have to be, as we've talked about before, we have to be careful about, one, where we get our information, and then two, just because the information is there doesn't necessarily mean that it applies to you. It doesn't mean that it applies in your specific circumstance the same way that it applies to your neighbor or your friend or your uncle, whoever it may be. These are all decisions that have to be made as part of a collective picture, part of a collective plan to make sure that everything works together like it's supposed to.
It is strategy. And it is trying to figure out the time that you can strategize. We said, when should advisors be asking about this? The earlier, the better. If you can start strategizing of what it's going to be down the road, it then becomes part of a plan that works and lasts for several years. 30 years? That's part of the strategy. It's why you want to call 844-342-7142, to put this as part of your plan. Not, this is how I'm going to retire. How does this strategy work within my next 30 years of doing what I want to do without taking a pay cut? 844-342-7142. Let's put together a complimentary written financial plan for you. If you want to just call and say, I'd just like a 15-minute phone call to see if I can strategize this, we'll do that for you. That's what we're here for, is the education part of this so that you can do it better with the knowledge that you now possess. 844-342-7142. Back after this.
At first, I thought I was going to become an iron worker, and after I graduated from high school, I drove from Virginia out to Wyoming, where my dad was at. My parents had just got divorced, And I watched my grandfather on my dad's side. My grandfather got Alzheimer's and spent the last several years of his life in a nursing facility. And I watched them be devastated at the cost at the time because they didn't have any insurance and that created a real problem for them. They lost the bulk of their assets, liquid assets. They were able to retain the farm back in Iowa, but it taught me a lesson that I don't want to ever go through that. I don't want my children to have to go through this. And so I met an individual at an event that I was doing, a party basically at his house, and he invited me to come to his house the next day. And I decided to check it out. And he said, Mark, you would be very good at this. And it was basically in the long-term care business, Medicare and Medicaid planning to a certain degree. So I help people get Medicare figured out, but then it also spurred me into the long-term care field as well. So again, that's really how I got into this business to begin with.
Glad you're with us on Elevate Your Wealth. Brad Johansson along with Mark Stimpson, Casey Elkins, and we're talking Social Security as part of your plan. I said it's kind of you got to do it once and you only get one, but there is, in fact, is there a do-over potential on Social Security?
Yeah, this is something we love to talk about because any of you that play golf out there, everybody knows what a mulligan is, right?
Some of us know it too well.
Yeah, exactly. We call about, well, maybe I hit my ball and I call it the cack. Okay, so if I put it in the bushes or the trees or the water, you can ask your friends now, do I get a mulligan? Now, some of your buddies are going to go, oh, heck no, you don't. You're going to play that one or take your penalty and play it, right? But when it comes to Social Security planning, I think people need to understand this rule a little bit because we have this happen. They come to one of our workshops. We do a workshop on Social Security just itself. And they hear something or they learn something and they realize, oh, I just started my Social Security and I didn't realize about the earned income test that we talked about, right? Or making, a decision at 62 and now I'm going to lose 30% of my money and I could have let it roll up and got a DRC, a delayed retirement credit, right? But if you're listening and you have a window to do this do-over or the mulligan, but it's got to be within 12 months from the date that you file. Now, what are the rules? Let's say you start Social Security, but you started at 62. Now you've been educated. You've got, you know what? I really don't want to do that now. The only thing that has to happen is you have to pay back the amount of money that you have received. Not any interest, but let's say you received $11,000 in total payments in Social Security. You must pay that back. But then we can file a 521 form. And what that's going to do, it's going to wipe the slate clean like you never started. And you'll be able to then start in the future any time you want down the road up. You'll never go past 70, but we've actually had clients, because of bad advice they got, they went past 70 and they lost tens of thousands of dollars in benefits. So again, please work with someone that specializes in Social Security planning, because whether it's the do-over rule or when to claim or the spousal benefit or the survivor benefit, please, this is so critical to long-term care planning and adding additional income. One of the things that we know mathematically, if you decide to go at 62 under normal life expectancy, you're going to lose close to $200,000 in total income. That's a lot of money. And I think all of us would agree, I'd rather have $200,000 than not have $200,000. So the decision as to when to claim is critical, and you need to have a plan for it.
Well, see, this is punitive even on a do-over. Look, for most people, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm turning on at 62, I feel like I need the money.
Mm-hmm. Totally
different. Your example.
Yeah.
Let's say I collected $11,000. Now I got to pay that back, even though I want to do it over. Mm-hmm. The punitive on where am I going to get that? I already spent that money,
and that's
kind
legit.
of thing.
Yeah.
Look, it's understanding and using advisors with the knowledge to be able to do this. When we talk about people doing it themselves or listening to somebody else and doing it, this is where all of this expertise comes in. And this is just one little part of what you're trying to put together on this massive puzzle that is always changing in picture. This is why the individual matters and why people are moving from advisors who say, nobody ever talked to me about all of this stuff. This matters in putting together a plan.
It really does. It's a decision that everybody has to make, right? So you have to make a decision in regards to Social Security, but it's really about optimizing it, right? Not making that knee-jerk reaction, that emotional decision. Now, if you have to start it at 62, for some people, that is the circumstance. That's the situation that they find themselves in. And for some people, that is the best decision they can make at the time. Most people don't end up waiting until age 70, despite the idea that the numbers do support that waiting until 70 is probably going to give you the most benefit, assuming that you make it to at least age 82 or 83. Most people don't want to do that. Now, we get that because there's, again, another piece to this about when do you actually get the income in your lifetime. There's the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. And so, while if we wait to 70, we might get the most benefit overall as long as we live long enough.
Yeah.
We still had to wait those 3 or 4 years to get that money started in our lifetime. If we could have started at 67, that's 3 years of income we didn't receive. And at 67, we probably have more vitality and more strength
And want to
youthful
spend more
energy.
money doing
exactly,
stuff.
right? So even though waiting till 70 might be financially better overall, how does it actually impact somebody's life? How does it create enjoyment for them and give them that sense of satisfaction and allow them to do the things that they want to do? So it isn't just the finance of it, it's also the impact that it has on the overall plan, to your point, making sure that all the pieces fit together like they should.
Yeah, when would you like to do that? We're offering that now. Actually, the offer is open. It's why we're here, so that we can help put together a complimentary written financial plan that is yours and yours alone. And if you'd like to get started to say, when should I strategize? 844-342-7142. Let's put a plan together for you. Let's have some talking points that say, you know what, I know now what I want my retirement to look like. Can you help? Ask the experts who've done it hundreds, thousands of times. Wouldn't you like that in your corner? Grateful for your time here. Spend some time in the office on you. Make the call, and we'll see you back here next time on Elevate Your Wealth.